Good afternoon. So my name is Ian Redligot. I'm a software developer. I'm an autistic person. I have ADHD, and I'm also a self-advocate. That's raising awareness about people like me, our struggles, I'm today I'm talking about neurodivergence work and the Neurodivergent People's Rights Act on behalf of my organization, Philippine Neurodivergent Self-Advocates. So just a quick introduction about who I am. I graduated from Ateneo de Manila University in 2022 under BS Management Information Systems, and I ended up working in ASUS Systems Limited Philippines, which is a Hong Kong-based software development company with a branch in Manila, Metro Manila. My day job is as a software developer, so I do a lot of programming. My hobby in my free time is my Rubik's Cube, in addition to other stuff. And I'm also neurodivergent, so my brain is different. So let me just explain. So what do I mean by neurodivergent? When I say neurodivergent, what I mean is that my brain functioning, it differs from what's considered normal. So for normal people, maybe it's not a normal hobby to really be obsessed with Rubik's cubes, to be obsessed with programming. But for me, because my brain is different, because I have ADHD, autism, that caused my brain to really hyper focus on certain hobbies. I don't really fit in the neurotypical norm. So neurotypical is the opposite of neurodivergent, where your brain is more normal, quote unquote. So it's socially defined. It's not it's a broad term basically. And this is related to the concept of neurodiversity, which is a paradigm shift that recognizes that actually these conditions, these disabilities, these are just different ways that people's brains process information, function, and present behaviorally. That this is a natural part of human diversity. And so we should actually celebrate the diversity of human brains rather than denigrating or stigmatizing autistic people, ADHD people, Down syndrome people, all those sorts of different disabilities. That we should celebrate them. We should encourage them to be proud of themselves. So yeah, and so this is just an example of conditions that fall under the umbrella of neurodivergence. So you have ADHD, autism, dyslexia, Down syndrome, um, all sorts of conditions. Even depression, anxiety might fall under this umbrella. So just a quick life story. So I was born in uh, 2000 in 1999, and I was the eldest of three siblings. And when I entered school, I was quite shy. I didn't have much friends. I had very few friends, like maybe five. And turns out that my quirks really started to show as early as childhood. Um, but we didn't really realize what was up with me until later on when my little brother was diagnosed with autism in 2007, and that really changed things for my family. So around this time, when I was a teenager, I got suspected with, or well, when I was growing up, becoming a teenager, I got suspected with ADHD at age 10, because I was angry often, got distracted in class, I lost things very easily. So when I was brought to a psychologist, that was the suspicion of the psychologist. And I was also diagnosed with autism at age 13. So that explains some of my struggles socializing, why I had very few intense hobbies, why I struggled with emotions. And eventually it also explains why I really gravitated towards programming in high school. It really became my obsession. That I self-studied actually how to program through the internet. And yeah, this continued on. I continued to struggle with my autism, my ADHD, and I did also get diagnosed with depression later on in university, due to a lot of pressures piling up. Luckily, I survived. I got to graduate. There were a lot of ups and downs in my university years, but I made it. I didn't get the cum laude, but I graduated, and I was able to enter the workforce. So how did that happen exactly? How did I go from a student to a software developer? So the first step was I had to get a job offer. So luckily I was quite patient and lucky enough that When I applied for an internship in university, I did my best. I really worked hard. I did well enough that they were impressed with me. They gave me a job contract that allows me to continue on with the company after I graduated. So I took some time to sit on this, really consider if this offer was for me. So I delayed my decision at first. I did not accept it immediately, and I chose to wait until after graduation. I read it myself in full. I talked with my parents, made sure that that this was a good deal for me, and turns out it was pretty good. So I did accept the offer. But then the next struggle came in that there were so much requirements, so many steps. And honestly, without my mom, I might not have been able to complete all of this. So with my mom's help, she was able to guide me through getting NBI clearance, getting SSS number, getting a PhilHealth identification number, tax identification number, and I managed to submit it to my company. So how did I survive at work when I really started working? So for context, I'm nearly 2 years at this company, and there are quite a few lessons that I learned throughout the process. So one of those lessons I learned was that I had to be willing to ask for help. So at first, I was really shy to ask for help because I felt like if I asked for help, it would make me look incompetent. That I didn't know what I was doing, that I was not qualified for this job. Later on, I realized that actually I have limitations. Nobody's perfect, especially if you're a new employee. You're still learning the ropes, so it's perfectly normal to ask help from your team lead. And just coming clean that you need help, you need clarifications, you have questions. And when I asked for help, thankfully they were very accepting. They guided me throughout the process. They understood where I was coming from, especially when I explained my conditions, why I struggled in certain aspects and why I excelled in others. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help. Another thing that I learned is that you have to not overwork yourself. So during my first 6 months, I made this mistake that I had to overcompensate for my disabilities by working harder than everybody else. So in my first 6 months of work, I was working more than 8 hours per day, and it was really bad for my physical and mental health. I got sick often. My depression got pretty bad. At first, I was productive, but then when my mental health took a beating, I really got less productive, and it came to a point where I had to take a break from work. I had to take vacation leave, really consider if I was going to resign or continue with this work, and prompted me to really take care of myself more. So when I returned to work, I avoided doing overtime. I rested when I could, and I made sure to leave space for me time after work to have personal hobbies. So there's more to life than work. Don't overwork yourself. Don't burn yourself out, especially if you're autistic, if you have ADHD. And then finally, well, not finally, but next to the final points is you have to rely on your support network. You don't have to struggle in silence. So there were times where I got super overwhelmed by the pressure of work, balancing all other aspects of my life, that I thought many times of giving up, of resigning, just retreating and staying at home forever. But one of the things that brought me out of that mindset was reaching out to people who cared about me. So these were people like my family, my friends, my psychologist even, talk about how I was feeling, helping work through it. If I needed medication, for example, my psych helped me out on that. And thanks to that, thanks to relying on my support network, I got the help I needed. I felt less alone, and I got the strength to continue. So finally, I learned to advocate for myself, that actually there's no shame in standing up for yourself. That eventually, you're the only one that can be you're the only one that can effectively advocate for yourself. You're the one that understands your needs the most. So because of my ADHD and depression, I struggled right at work, and people do notice that something's off. Eventually, you have to come clean that actually right now, maybe you're struggling with burnout. Right now, you're struggling with the, your executive dysfunction, your emotional dysregulation, and you have to explain actually your team leads about your disabilities. That's what I did. I explained my conditions. It might not work for all workplaces, but there's sometimes when you're really in a bind, you have to come clean. And thankfully, my workplace was understanding. I was able to ask for accommodations, and that allowed me to continue accomplishing my tasks. And up to this day, I'm still working for however long, and yeah, it's a testament to the effectivity of self-advocacy. So where do you go from here? So 'cause that's just me in my workplace. How about everyone else in other workplaces that are not as understanding, not as aware about neurodivergence, not as aware about autism, ADHD? So this is where we have to inspire others to self-advocate, that we have to teach others the skills to survive in a world full of challenges for people like us. And that involves teaching them to come clean about their disabilities, to really talk about it openly, not to be ashamed of it, to wear it with pride, that it's a part of you. It's not something to be ashamed of. That you simply need different support from others. Secondly, we have to connect with others like us. We have to build communities where we feel safe to be ourselves. And finally, we have to get involved in efforts to make the country better for neurodivergent people. So, before I end this presentation, let me plug actually the Neurodivergent People's Rights Act filed by Representatives Yaur Raman Alonto Adyong, that seeks to comprehensively improve the lives of neurodivergent Filipinos in various aspects. And in particular for employees like us, this bill would focus on ensuring that people like us get to enjoy employment without discrimination, that we get to enjoy reasonable accommodations at work, that we get to enjoy psychosocial support and other support services to help us thrive in the workplace. So some of the sections I really appreciate about this bill is, for example, Section 12 that talks about how technical vocational education can be made more accessible for neurodivergent people, especially those who struggle with communication, like my little brother who's not as verbal as me, but he also has a desire to eventually be a productive member of society. And TESDA is one of those places that people like him, if they're capacitated correctly, can acquire the skills they need to enter the workforce and gain employment. Another section I really appreciate is this section on employment that talks about the need for more neurodivergence affirming counseling, more reasonable accommodations, employee assistance programs, etc., mental health services, to ensure that once you're hired, you're in good hands, that your company understands what you're going through. And so that involves capacitating human resource departments, whether it's in the public sector or the private sector, and working together as self-advocates in conducting awareness raising, capacity building efforts to make sure that we're really welcomed in the workplace. So yeah, this is a very important part of the bill. And finally, this one is also really nice. Section 14, protection from tokenism and discrimination, that employment for us should not just be just for the sake of it, but it should be meaningful. Meaning that, neurodivergent people like us should be placed in work that is suitable with our skill sets, our interests, our passions, that make the most out of our potential, and that also allow us to receive identical benefits, that allow us to receive the similar wages that match our living costs, and that allow us to have job security, because we're really not that different from quote unquote normal neurotypical workers. We just need different support measures to allow us to reach our full potential. So we should not be treated as economic drains or a waste of resources, but untapped investment, untapped talent pools. So to conclude, yeah, apart from promoting bills like the NPRA, I also encourage you to join organizations like FINSA, Philippine Neurodivergent Self-Advocates. We're a new organization of self-advocates composed of neurodivergent people from different backgrounds, students, workers, professionals. So if you want to join us, here's the link, bit.ly join FINSA. So thank you for listening.